I think the stigma and education is our main focus, and we do have, and we have products and things to help you with that journey.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. We have got an interesting topic today we're going to touch on with our founder. Today's founder is someone who is in the world of hemp. That's right, the hemp industry. He has taken and grown a business over the last 5 years in a very, very smart way. Slow and steady wins the race. And in his particular case, he has been setting the foundation for an amazing explosive growth. He's had a great run so far, but he has got some stuff in the works that he's going to talk about on the show today that could just launch in a way that he had never imagined. And so you're going to love this episode because he is in an industry where there's a lot of questionable players in the industry, and yet there are a huge group of solid, health-centric, very motivated, driven founders in this world that you're going to come to appreciate in a way that maybe you haven't before in the world of hemp and cannabis. So enjoy this episode. You're going to love this founder. And I think that you're going to learn some valuable business lessons in the process of learning how he's been able to grow and scale his business in a world that is, let's just say, not super friendly to the industry. So enjoy this episode. We'll see you on the flip side on the interview. Thanks so much. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Today we have got a guest who is out to solve a lot of really common problems and dispel a lot of misconceptions about his business. I love it. I love what he's doing. We got Ryan on the show today. Ryan, tell us who you are and what problem do you solve?
Well, I'm Ryan Dills. I'm the managing partner, co-owner of the Georgia Hemp Company, which is mainly our lifestyle distribution brand, and Simply Wellness, which is our wellness brand. But it's a hemp company, and my main focus is more on the financial side and just the macro elements of business in general, and product development, checks and balances, and that kind of thing. So yeah, just a hemp company in the cannabis world in today's society has its challenges for sure.
It does. But tell us, like, what part of it is unique to you? Like, what? There's a lot of sides to the hemp industry. Sure. I mean, when you say cannabis or hemp, a lot of people think you're dancing around. You're just a licensed drug dealer. Tell me what you guys actually do. Like, what is it that you guys do with your business, and who are you targeting? Like, who's your target market?
That's a good question. And the main focus, and not to sound, cliche-ish, but is the education and kind of ridding of the stigmas, that we all grew up with in the last, 5-6 decades or however old we are. So, right. So really the education part's huge because there's a misunderstanding, and it's really holistic health is huge for me, or preventative, and taking preventative measures when we're more of a Band-Aid society, right? Especially with health. So it's kind of more creating education, maybe more sustainable solutions to normal problems we all deal with, from anxiety to pain. So I think the stigma and education is our main focus, and we do have, and we have products and things to help you with that journey.
Not gonna lie, I really like that. I like that mindset. I really like where you're going with this, because it is funny how we live in a society where we're going to encourage people to use opioids and things like that for relief of pain and anxiety, and yet you're dealing with a very natural solution that our body can actually handle and process a little bit easier. Would you say?
Yes, that's correct. Well said, for sure.
All right. Well, that puts us on a level playing field. Now we got that kind of stigma out of the way, let's talk about the business side of this, because I think it's something a lot of people hear about. A lot of people want to stay at arm's length from.
Sure.
What is it about this industry that kind of encouraged you, kind of brought you in to say, holy crap, this is like legit? What was it for you?
Yeah, it really is that sustainable, preventative kind of mindset. I like to do things before they're needed, and kind of not just fix a problem, but how do I prevent it, and or maybe manage that challenge more, sustainably or from a healthy standpoint. So cannabis, and there's other elements you can get into too. There's more natural things that your body can process to help you deal with those kind of everyday challenges. So, cannabis has a lot of uses, from chemo patients to just basic day-to-day anxiety. Right. And so just seeing how it's affected people close to me over the years, and myself and growing up, different people that I looked up to, and how they able to manage their daily stresses in this kind of mental health, disregard that we have in society.
Totally.
And so, it's very fascinating to me that how much, I say ignorance, not with the disrespect, but how much lack of awareness a lot of us have, and even myself had, with what it can do. And it's just the accessibility part that you don't have access to it, but we can, like you said, we can get opioids, we can drink every day. That causes, kind of a lifelong patient for the healthcare industry. But what can we do that kind of not just get rid of my headache or get rid of my pain? How can I prevent it? How can I, kind of treat it sustainably that's not causing me more issues in the long term, from, organ failures and stuff. So that was my drive, is from a health and kind of just how can we have a higher quality of life? How do we keep from shooting ourselves in the foot when we can do something a little easier?
Totally.
So, yeah.
Totally. So with that being said, I mean, are you on the wholesale? Are you on a retail? Like, where does your business fit in that? Is it both? What are you kind of doing?
Yeah, we have it's retail and wholesale. We have some brick and mortars. We're based in Atlanta. So brick and mortars around the city. We do online, the GeorgiaHempCompany.com. We do a lot online. And we do wholesale as well, and that kind of happens organically. People reach out to us when we sell our products, and that's been growing a little bit more now that our online presence is more, and now the marketing can be a little bit different with radio and TV ads on in the local market anyway. And so it's just growing organically as we can with the people we have on staff to not get ahead of ourselves and just sustain our inventory. So it's so really all facets of it, just on a smaller scale in the Southeast for the most part.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Now, as you've kind of gone down this growth journey, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight.
Sure.
You're 5 years into this business?
5 years.
Where are you at with this?
Yeah, 5 years, exactly.
Okay, so 5 years in the business. Tell me about the growth journey, because this is an industry that I've watched from the outside where it's very volatile. There's people that jump in and they go huge, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And then there's other people like you who, over the course of these 5 years, you've had a journey, and it's taken you someplace cool. What's been your favorite part about the journey so far?
Well, I think that kind of touches on just the volatility and the excitement of it. There's a lot of potential, right? And it's just now kind of starting to hit its stride. And even though it's, one of those 2 steps forward, 3 steps back type thing, the exciting part for me, I'm doing it with a childhood buddy. It's a true partnership. 50-50.
Cool.
And then just the fact that it's fast growing, exciting industry that always changes, going ebbing and flowing. Each state's like its own country. The West Coast is different than the East Coast. And trying to keep up with that and make it make sense for the consumer, digest it for them and make it a presentable type aspect of their lives. I love that part of it, the daily challenges and doing it with people, you care about, like a family-owned business. So that's what I love about it. And again, I feel like it's adding value to people's lives. And the more I can be a part of something like that, sign me up. So.
I mean, it's nowadays you're finding elements of hemp everywhere. Sure. Hand soaps and lotions have hemp seed or something in there. You got. I mean, it's almost everywhere now. I mean, any kind of lotions with CBD, and there's elements all over the place. How have you been able to kind of ride that and as to your point, kind of help educate the society that this isn't just we're not just a couple of hoodlums. Right.
That's that in the beginning is funny, especially being in the South. People say the word hemp, and I used to get in trouble in high school for hemp, and I was like, well, not really for hemp. But so really, that's just a misunderstanding in general. There's cannabis and there's hemp, and really the only difference is hemp just has hardly no THC, but it's the same type of thing. But you touched on a good point. Hemp can do so much just from durable goods and, clothing and ropes and, concrete. You can do so much with it. It's not just the ingestible part. And then the compounds in it, from a health standpoint, do so many different things. So there's so many different uses. So from a health standpoint or sustainable product standpoint, why anybody would be against it makes zero sense to me. But from recreation, okay, that's a different conversation, but it's all about access, right? And education in general. So so many different facets, and mostly it was, kind of that CBD kind of anti-inflammatory day-to-day type use that anybody can relate to is kind of how we wanted to approach it, aside from the education part in general. And but home goods, everything. We kind of touch all of it. But like you said, topicals, bath bombs to just basic oil to, I want to feel a little bit better on the weekends and be a little social. They all have uses and all have options. And we want to make sure people have access to it that understand it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. So on a business level, like, you have to obviously build an organization. I mean, how has the organizational build part of this been a challenge, or maybe it hasn't? Maybe it's been very easy. Maybe you got people knocking on the door wanting to work for you. But how has that been, like that part of the business building?
Well, yeah. So kind of two parts of that question. I feel that from scaling up and just building the business, our main hurdle has always been the financial side, right? Banks are federally regulated for the most part. You have state credit unions, you have local banks, but they're too small sometimes for this for them to mess in the cannabis space. But so from a money standpoint, it's been a challenge trying to have access to financial instruments another business would have. Like if I'm selling bubble gum, we could have scaled a lot faster, right? But so you just had to kind of worked out, and it kind of worked out to our benefit in a sense, because we had to kind of go low and slow, and just like your dosing should be, right? Go low and slow and just kind of do things as you're able and not get ahead of yourself, and create the right systems and put them in place, have the right people. So we had to grow kind of 1 inch at a time, but I wouldn't change now that we got a good foundation. But the biggest hurdle is, access to funds. And we just had to kind of like slowly, when more money came in, we were able to expand some product lines, kind of improve our branding. So that's been the main thing. As far as employees, especially in today's world after, COVID or I say post-COVID, but now that it's over, but is, the staffing standpoint, we haven't had that issue. We're kind of like that cool company, and we need about half our staff to be kind of part-time, just like a side job. And we have a lot of those people. We get resumes every day. So, So it's kind of like people want to learn and people want to educate that are in that industry, or they just want to learn and kind of be a part of something they find is cool locally. Because we sponsor, that's another thing I meant to mention. We sponsor about any local event you can think of, from music festivals to golf tournaments to pet events to anything. That's awesome. So that kind of grassroots marketing, because we had to touch on that financial thing. We couldn't just run a commercial on ESPN, or we couldn't, NBC. We couldn't just, say certain things, and we had to slowly kind of, peel back layers of those options as we were able to. So the challenge is financial.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I think that for most people, they're jumping into a business that is not stuck with the stigma that you've got. And I think to your point, banks and government regulated things like that, they just want to keep their distance for a little bit and say, you'll figure it out.
There's a lot of dominoes. It affects more. It's not big pharma. There's a lot of things that come that are affected. That are lobbyists are against, and so it's not it's not big pharma. It's not really one thing. It's just a lot of moving parts, and that's where people, I think, they're like, just make it all legal. Well, there's a lot more going on than that. So even from taxing and that kind of stuff. So it's fascinating. It really is fascinating for sure.
It is. It's got to be. I mean, I like I said, I've kind of kept my arm's length from the industry. I've had opportunities to get involved, and I just say, I don't even want to touch that. You know what I mean?
And also too, like going back to the marketing, just basic social media. I've had a lot of friends say, "Well, I want to start something, and I got so many Facebook followers. Yeah, post anything about cannabis, you'll shut down immediately." So. And that hinders you in today's world, having to kind of play that game with social media and be careful how you say things. And 'cause that's a big way of people, how they communicate or find new products or access the things they think they want to try. So it's a dance. It's an ebb and flow that you do the best you can, so.
No kidding. No kidding. That's crazy. Well, how do you, there's a lot of people watching this show that are in that position where they've kind of launched, they've got their business rolling, they're trying to figure out their next steps. As you try to figure out, you've mentioned a few times about developing new product and developing new aspects, new pain points you're trying to solve with your product. What advice do you give to other people that are kind of in that same boat? We're like, we could go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. How did you select the paths that you've gone? You've got storefronts, you've got some wholesale. Like, what advice do you give people trying to figure out that next stage of their growth in their business?
Yeah, for us, and kind of we touched on it before, is how different parts of the country and different states are all different with respect to this industry. And the West Coast obviously would be ahead of the game, just from a culture standpoint, just from an education standpoint, from an access standpoint. So we're really big on staying. Where's the industry going that's ahead of us? And try to, so the South, just like a country song, you'll know a new country song in Nashville before you will in LA. Nothing negative by that, but it's just the way they release it to the public, because that's the people consuming it mostly. So same idea. We're very plugged into the industry, especially out west. I still have a presence out west. I have a place in Oregon where the farms are that we deal with, and staying up to date on what are they doing, because they're doing it before we're doing it, and what kind of products make sense, and what kind of research and what kind of data. So that's a big part of it, is knowing your industry, and then where is it going? The people that you want to be like, or the people that are paving the way, if you will, on some level. What are they doing, and what can you do to piggyback on that in a sense? And kind of what we're doing when we do something here, it's new, but it's been going on for a year out there, for example. So those kind of things have created us opportunities just by being, well versed in the industry, going to trade shows. Trade shows always are what's the next thing, right? And people don't want to spend the money, and I get it, especially a small company. But man, you got to pretend that you're going to be here in 5 years, so you might as well be prepared in case you do make it past that first 6 months in a year that a lot of people don't get by. And we can touch on that too. But yeah, mostly just, hey, pretend that you're going to be here in 5 years, and if you are, what processes and what habits do you need to have in place, to be deserving of it,
That's awesome advice. I really love that. That's for those listening, if you're not even in the know about what trade shows you should be at, go figure it out. Just spend a day.
Huge resource.
Right? I mean, trade shows are such a huge deal, and some of us look at them like, oh, brother, I got to go to another one of these things. It is a huge deal as a founder to know what is cutting edge. What are people looking at? What are the next steps? What do you got to be prepared for? And what opportunities might you have that other people aren't seeing?
Huge. Well, you walk I remember a trade show. We took some of the staff a couple years ago, and this one is they're walking. It's huge, and the biggest one's in Vegas every November. I mean, it's huge. It's global, and they're walking around. There's so many aspects of any business, let alone cannabis and hemp, that you're not even thinking of, from packaging, this financial, the things that you're not. When somebody says, "I want to get into the hemp industry," what does that mean? You can get into advertising, you can get into anything you think of, consulting. So design, high design work, but with all this stuff, there's so many opportunities that doesn't touch the plant, from growing, seed to sale. So, those trade shows kind of tell you like, oh, I didn't even think about this kind of product or this kind of avenue or this kind of point of sale item. How can we monetize?
And it might tell you that you should stay away from it sometimes too.
Where's the trends going? And industry magazines, the trade shows, to me is, a lot of people look down on it or don't want to spend the money, but man, we're only where we are because we did that. We wouldn't have survived, so
100%.
We took money out of our own pockets, but that's what you do. You invest, you do marketing, you put money into that, and you stay consistent and be intentional. And then you wake up one day like, wait, how did I get 5 miles down the road when I was just trying to claw 1 inch at a time? And that's how I look at life with anything that seems too big. How do I minimize it? How do I make it digestible? And how do I break it down so I can I can do that each day? Instead of trying to solve world hunger, I'm just giving a peanut butter and jelly out each day, and that's kind of how I approach it.
Totally. And if you're not looking at things like that as an investment, that's probably why you can't justify it.
That's right.
But if you look at it as an investment to go figure out what the industry is doing, where everything's trending, it is an investment that will repay you 100-fold sometimes if you make the right decision at the right time and hit the market with what they need or what they demand.
I agree. Yeah, that's well said.
Awesome. Dude, as you've been on this journey now for these 5 years, I know you've been involved in the industry even prior to that, but as you look around in your network and you see people that have inspired you, hey, I love to give shout outs. Who's someone you could give a shout out to that kind of has helped motivate you to keep growing the business the way you've been going?
Man, the hesitation's only because I hate leaving people out. But yeah, there's a close buddy of mine and his wife. They're a very close family. Got 2 daughters. They're goddaughters of mine, and John and Katie Cruz. And they started a hit gym the same time I started this. We were very close out in Oregon, and now they got 4 or 5 locations, just like I do. And it's we're very
Awesome.
similar paths. And the same thing, health-minded, more sustainable type, and how do we, empower people in their lives. And so it's been cool to watch that journey.
Right.
Anytime we any type of roadblock, from scaling to inventory type things to how do we monetize different aspects of the business and subscription-based things, and they're definitely my go-to. And I get out to Denver quite a bit, and we meet up often and talk shop, if you will, and yeah, so a lot of people, in your personal network and professional network, that's always good to bounce, ideas off of and just have conversations, kind of like you and I are having. And
totally
big on that, and just communicating and sharing the journey. And people that don't fail or think it's easy or it just works out for certain people don't understand how this works. The more you fail, the more success you can have. You just got to keep going. Yeah.
They don't get it. They don't get it. And listen, I appreciate where you're at, because this is such a huge point for those watching that are trying to grow and scale. Two things that are huge that we've talked about so far have been, you got to know what's on the horizon of your industry, and you got to have people in your network that you can collaborate with, because it just helps both of you grow and scale. In some senses, you could look at these good friends of yours as a competitor, but the reality is it's an abundance marketplace, right? I mean, you can't think that you're the only one doing what you're doing in your business. So don't, and actually collaborate with some people and be like, dude, what are some best practices you got going on? What are some things I got going on?
Right? I mean, we all have the same goal in a sense. So like, I don't care whose idea it is. I don't care if I get credit. It's just like, no, we have it's not just about me. It's not my responsibility to the company and to the employees. And so, yeah, there's no ego involved. I think checking the ego and understanding, hey, there will be roadblocks. That's okay. The roadblocks aren't the issue. It's like, how do you respond to them? How do you ebb and flow? Water will find the ocean. Some rivers go all over the place. Some go straight to it. It's just keep moving forward, and 1 inch at a time. And then people wake up, and 5 years is a blink of an eye. As 6 months is a blink of an eye. So you might as well be doing something productive along the way. You're going to be there anyway, so.
100%. Dude, I appreciate this call. I seriously, Ryan, this is an exciting interview for, I think, a lot of people, especially for you in your path to educating people on the industry, the pros, the challenges, the things that you got going against you, and the things you got going for you. It's truly been an inspiration to talk to you. I really appreciate it. How do people get a hold of you? Do they follow you on social media anywhere? Where are you at?
Yeah, again, the website's thegeorgiahempcompany.com. Social media will be Georgia Hemp Co. And we always have a lot of things going on. Very, very intentional, but very active on those platforms. And any questions will come to me. Any questions, anything I could do to add value to someone's journey, be happy to do it. So if anybody can reach out anytime they like, for sure.
Love it. Love it, dude. Thank you so much, Ryan. We appreciate you being on here, and we will see all of the rest of you on the next episode. Thanks for being here.
You too. Have a great day, buddy.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. I am one of those people who has always kept myself at arm's length from that industry. And it is not because I don't like the people in it, but it's because it has a stigma. It has parts of it that people just don't want to be associated with. And Ryan has done a great job of kind of breaking down some of those barriers and opening the door into a world of health, the health side of using natural supplements to medicate certain parts of our day-to-day business as a person, as a human. And I love the fact that he is trying so hard to educate. You'll hear him talk about that multiple times during the interview. We try to educate. We try to help people understand. We try to make this something that's normal. That's something that they should be thinking about in a way to help with the common issues that people have. Other businesses have similar problems. If you're in an industry that's dealing with the similar types of stigma, similar parts of your industry maybe that people don't really like to know about, I would invite you to share it in the comments below. I love to hear what industry it is, how you've been able to cope with it, how you've been able to deal with it, and overcome it, hopefully. Because there's always a way forward. You just have to stay ahead of the game, like Ryan talked about. Stay ahead of the game, know where the industry's going, see where you want to be known within the industry, and then put yourself in positions to get there. I love this interview. I hope it helps you in your path to growth and scaling. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Thanks for being here.